my name is
Hello.
Michael. Just going to check the audio is actually working. And it's Izzie on the wrong side, that way.
Yes, hello, I don't actually know which side to be pointing at, but hello, I'm Izzie.
Cool, so hopefully the audios are good. So we're here today, we're trying a new thing where we are going to be sort of live talking through things that we do. I guess the whole thing is that we show our process here, because it's called SHOWstudio. And so when we're doing something more techy, we tend to not say or show what we do, because it's all just behind a screen. So we're trying to find a sort of way to actually get that out, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to fix this because it's going to make it look like we are just looking at
like ignoring each other.
Completely at the other side of the room. And while I do that, but yeah, so that's the general plan for this show. And we used to do the game streaming here, but now we're going to do this. So recently we just it's out now. That's why we can talk about it.
It is, yeah.
The Las Vegas Sphere, and what I'm going to do. Do you have any videos for that?
Let me see if I can find
But
some.
essentially, the Las Vegas Sphere is this big new venue that just opened. You might have seen it. They had U2 play there to open it, and they've got residency at the moment. But it's just a big spherical screen. And if you put that on your main screen.
I'm just watching an advert for cheese at the moment,
Great.
Michael, so give me a second. So here we go.
Oh, that is literally it.
Yeah.
So that's it. So basically we made this, and we had a little bit of trouble doing it because it's kind of a very novel screen to make artwork for.
Yeah.
So we kind of thought it would be a great way to start the series by talking through how we did this thing, because there wasn't any tutorials and we had to sort of make it up a little bit as we went along.
Yeah.
As we usually do.
Oh, we're streaming.
We're streaming.
Right on.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. So that's what we're going to talk through today.
Yeah. And I think at the time when this was being made, like as you said, there wasn't any tutorials, but there just wasn't actually that much content out in general. So just the whole process was very DIY or cowboy, however you like to call it. And yeah, it was just kind of making things up until I managed to get the outcome to make this content. I don't know where. Oh, this side. There we go.
Cool. So I guess what we'll try and do is go through it live. We only want to spend about an hour.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and go through it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm just going to double check that people can actually hear us. And yeah, if you have any questions while we're doing it, obviously just ask. That's the whole point of doing it live. Yeah, it's not too bad. All right. Cool. So, is that really loud? That was a little bit loud. So, let's start with my screen.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through the whole process from actually making the artwork up to, if I can find my mouse, up to visualizing it and how we sort of were trying to check that it was actually working and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so here we go. And also we'll try and talk through the software that we're using. So because it's all pretty much readily available and free to a certain extent, or you might already use it. So it's sort of something that you can hopefully do on your own. And anyone can sort of learn to do it. That's sort of the point. So I'm going to flick over to me.
Amazing.
And Izzie is going to keep talking because I'm going to get distracted. So maybe I'll try and talk through it, and if I miss anything, Izzie, let me know.
Okay.
So basically, I should do the thing where the keys come up. Also, this might be a bit. It's 4K, so it might be a bit small on the screen. I don't know, learning, I guess. Anyway, I'll talk you through it as we go. So basically, the problem we have is that we have a sphere.
Yeah.
Right? And we want to get some content that sort of makes use of the sphere.
Mm-hmm.
For this project, we had 3D scans of the boxes in question. And that's sort of something that we've started doing over the past few years, is just sort of scanning people, just like trying to get our heads around that sort of tech and like find interesting ways to use things. we're on the wrong way on this one as well.
Oh really? Oh no.
So we have the scans, and usually, Izzie, if you want to talk through the different texts that we have while I
so we, depending on
things up.
Okay. Oh, you're on my screen.
So I'm on your screen.
Okay. So depending on the like usage we need it for, we either use a handheld scanner, which is white light scanning. That is white light scanning, right?
Yeah, it's like a combination of white light
and blue light, probably.
Yeah, and it does RGB as well somehow.
So it's like a very compact little, I don't actually know how much you can see of me, but it's a very compact little handheld device. It's actually this one here on the right, and we use this basically this handheld device. We use Scandi Pro on an iPad, or we use a photogrammetry rig, or just go around with a single camera. And I'll take you through kind of each kind of use case. Our most high tech, like if we've got something that we need to scan, like a face if someone comes in, depending on who it is, if it's just for us, we will use the iPad, and it gets quite close up, and it goes around us, and you end up basically looking at yourself in a very funny way. This is quite low quality, but the result we really like. So if I go on to SHOWstudio, I can show you that all of our staff scans were scanned with this. And yeah, you can see on basically everybody's like profile, there's bits missing, but in turn it comes quite stylized, which is why we use it really. If we want something like the highest quality we can get, we use a photogrammetry rig, or we like go around on a turntable as an object, and we take pictures of it, and then we put that back into a software. Normally it's reality capture, and it creates this. Also, I feel like everything in 3D scanning always creates like a very interesting result at every level. Yeah, would you say the same?
I think it's so. The one thing that we've learned, because we started with the iPad, right?
Yeah.
And we've sort of built up from there, is that everything has a sweet spot and limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, the iPad one isn't the best for like long scans. Like if you want to scan a big object, it's not really going to be the thing. If you want to that takes a long time to scan. If you want to scan a obviously moving target, that's also much harder. But it does give you these sort of artifacts, which we quite like, which is something we sort of embrace as part of like we're not always looking for a perfect result.
No.
So embracing the like quirks of something is usually what we do, and usually it works out.
Yeah.
I would say. So I've almost got the actual scans in.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
It's taken way longer than I thought because I've got everything.
So as Michael just said, like we originally started off with iPad scanning, and I feel like probably at the same time you guys were probably doing, we were doing photogrammetry at the same, alongside that for like stationary objects.
Yeah.
And we actually still use all three of these, but our most recent is the Artec. And we now take facial scanning or object scanning with the Artec, and it kind of comes with us wherever we go, because you never know when you might need to scan something or somebody.
That is very true.
Yeah, and it packs away into quite like a good sized box as well. So yeah, it's a good bit of kit, and it's very instant results, so you know what you're looking at basically.
All right, so I'm gonna just take over again.
Yeah.
I've got 2 scans to look at.
Amazing.
Right, so this is sort of the difference. On the left you have a scan that was done with an iPad, and you can see all of this sort of artifacting and like stretching and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we've only done the front. That's mainly because like going around the back and on hair's usually a hard thing to scan.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And like these are basically scans so that we can take a portrait shot of the person. So that's it. You see that there's like way less definition in the eyes.
That's so creepy.
Yeah, like you lose a lot of definition around the jewellery and stuff. But this kind of effect is quite cool, and when you like frame that up properly, it can look really good. And that's actually, if you go to our what's it called? The team page. Yeah. All of our staff images are these scans. Yeah. Just a choice, I guess. And then on the right, I actually have a scan that I did or got done of myself. It's been decimated a bit, so it's like lower res than it came out of the scanner. But you can see that like my eyes have a lot more definition, even though they're the same amount of polygons, so kind of the same resolution, I would say, if it was a photo. There's a lot more detail. It's got my hair, which was a thing. I've just cut the back off because there wasn't picture taken of my back, but you can also see like the detail in the clothing is still there, which it's just smoothing out, essentially. So yeah, and then they obviously come with their own like costs, and like certain ones are going to be more expensive than others, and yeah, that's the general thing. I'm just going to look at that. I think it's a bit quiet, maybe. Is that quiet? Is that better? Can't tell. Yeah, that's probably getting better. Okay. Ooh, that might have been quite low. Anyway, I'm not recording. It'll be online. So what I'm going to do now is go through the rough process that we went through to make this art.
Yeah.
So you start off, you've got your scans. We're not boxers, but we could be.
Very easily could be.
Do
you reckon we'd get our own fighting spot? Do you reckon we could go to Riyadh, be brought Riyadh for the season?
Picked up by a promotion.
Last minute entries.
Yeah, if you want to take over for Francis if he drops out, then you be my guest.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I want to fight either, to be honest. Tyson is a big character.
So let's see if I got my sphere. So here's the sphere. So let's imagine this is the sphere.
Yeah. And
this is our screen that we want to project onto. Because it's a screen and you only see it from one side, you can't really you have to take that into account. So a lot of the things we were trying to do is basically make it look like the faces were 3D and spinning around inside the ball, so it looked like there was this perspective of them being a physical thing rather than being a flat thing on a screen, which is like one thing to get on a flat screen, and it's what you see on the curved corner screens, like in Soul, what are they called? The 3D corner screen stuff.
Yeah, you can just type that and it'll come up.
Yeah.
But it's like OMM, I think.
OMM, yeah.
I think so.
Is that right? Maybe.
Has it come up?
I don't know. It'll come up. Yeah, this sort of thing, for reference. Where it looks like it's a 3D object. Oh my god, that's going to be tiny.
What?
But this sort of thing. So that's basically called forced perspective, where you render something from a perspective and make everything line up to that. And because it goes round a physical object, it sort of manages to trick your eye into thinking it's 3D. So that's what we're trying to do with this thing. But what we have to consider is the actual bounds of the screen, because we can't actually, if you're looking at it from this camera angle, anything that is outside of that sphere is not going to be on the screen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me if this makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah. So my whole composition has to live within the screen, and also whatever because we're going to have to sort of project the art, the 2D image that I get from the render, that's going to have to be reprojected onto the sphere in a way that makes it look correct from that perspective. So when I'm setting up this camera to look at my composition and take into account the sphere, that's also the sort of sweet spot angle that we're going to be viewing it from. So I'm just going to make up a little composition that we sort of used to do the thing, and then we're probably going to skip a few steps because of time. But yeah, where's my? So all I'm doing here is I'm using empties, which are just sort of empty objects, to be able to parent objects to so that they can just spin around at the exact same rate and without keyframing.
Did you say parent or parent?
Parent.
Because I don't know if it's maybe because I've been saying parent the whole time, but maybe it is parent. Maybe.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Can you check audio again?
Yeah, I can do that.
Right, so then we've got one empty. I'm going to drag and drop that, parent that to there. And I'm going to drag that out. So this isn't really a tutorial in the sense of telling you how to use Blender, I guess. It's more, this is how we did something. It's more for the projection, actually. But so yeah, so I guess
sounds good.
The idea is that the ideas can be used exactly the same in any other bit of software, but I guess a lot of people use Blender because it's free. So I'm just going to check that is that. I'm just sort of childing one scan to one empty, childing the other one to the other one, so that when I spin this one in the middle, they will both move. Cool. And then we want to make that a perfect loop. I'm going to make it, if it's a 10-second animation, running at 30 frames a second, it needs 30 frames. I'm going to make sure my thing is at 30 frames. I'm also, just because we are shooting, no, let's do the animation first. So I'm going to set my first keyframe on this thing to 0, and at the end, +1 frame, so it's a perfect loop. I'm going to make that, say, 360, perfect rotation. So now when I play this, and I change my keyframes to linear, so that's going to now rotate at a constant rate, and when it gets round to the front, it's going to loop and you're not going to see anything happen. So that's great, I guess. That's essentially the thing we were going for. Now, you can still see that those little artifacts we were talking about are hanging off the edge. I'm just going to get rid of those to keep everything within the sphere. And then I guess the only other thing to talk about, I'm just looking at the time, because there are like effects and stuff we can do, but that's not really the point, is that this sort of camera angle that we are looking at, projecting from, which I mentioned earlier. So because we only care about what we can see on the screen, so all of this like stuff on the side, all of the dead space is actually not necessary for a render. So I'm just gonna change my render size to square and then reframe my camera. But if you are a photographer or anything, you'll obviously know about focal lengths. Yeah, that's the word, focal lengths. So generally people are going to look better from a longer focal length, and that's going to compress things and faces look better. And when we're thinking about this with the sphere, we also want to, because it's such a big object, people are going to be viewing it from further away, so we actually want to move our camera further away so that the sweet spot is in a further back location. So what I'm going to do is, this is such a like weird thing to try and talk through as we go.
What do you mean?
Like talking through this process feels like I'm having to like rush through it, but so that's my camera and that is framed up perfectly on the sphere. Yeah. Right?
It's great.
But it's at 50mm, which isn't ideal, and it's too close, which means our sweet spot is going to be super close to the ball. So I want to move it back, and I think what we sort of found is that about 100mm focal length is good. So if I pull all the way back and change my camera to 100mm rather than 50mm, you're going to get a further away projection. Your sweet spot for where people can view it from is going to be further away, and your people are also going to look a bit nicer. Yeah. And if I just A/B between a 50mm camera and 100mm, So it doesn't look like a lot here, but if you look, if you look at the sphere, it feel like you can see how it like. So that's your 50 mil, and that's more compressed and further back.
Yeah.
And if I lose the sphere, you can just sort of see that they do look nicer at a longer five.
Yeah, it does. You have to convince me it does.
And then I'm also just going to ground it a bit, because what we kind of want to do is create this like sort of fake depth. So we want elements to overlap elements and go behind different things and stuff like that to make it feel like what you're looking at is 3D. And they do that. You can see, if you look again at these things, all of this black space is still the screen. I don't know if you can see my mouse. That's all still screen, but you can see where it finishes on the right because it goes off screen. But all that black space is still.
Oh, you can see it then.
Yeah, then it fills in. So like they use that as a trick to sort of make it look like it's coming out onto like it's literally coming off the screen, because your brain at first thinks there's no screen there, and then it goes onto the screen and it feels like it's a thing. So I don't know what the next thing is. Probably
reprojection.
Moving on to reprojection. So actually the background as well.
The backgrounds.
Do you want to talk about AI backgrounds?
Can do. Happy to.
Do you want to do that? Do you have anything prepared?
I don't have anything prepared massively. I just have the AI background that we decided upon.
Okay.
But for this process for this example, we did in fact use AI just to have a bit of a play around, particularly as Photoshop's just released it in their official, it was in beta for a really long, not for a really long time, but for quite a while, using generative fill. So actually I can probably pull that up as a example.
Skip over to my pre-made. Do you want me to switch to you?
Yeah, go for it. Let me just give me a. Oh, have you switched?
No.
Okay, just give me a second. Let me grab up a blank. Okay, I'm ready to be switched
ready?
over.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, Photoshop brought out a new AI. It's not necessarily new, but it's new in terms of you can now use it commercially. You couldn't use it commercially when we were making this, but to use it, you essentially just grab your selection, and it's really quick and it's really simple. You just press generative fill, and you can say anything. Have you got any ideas, Michael, what we could ask for it to create for us today?
We like painterly skies.
Do you like painterly skies?
Not abstract. We like try painterly skies, I guess. I guess that's what we asked for. And it's weird that we always talk about asking the AI for things, you know.
As if you're asking for permission.
Yeah.
Please give us some AI.
Please give me something good.
Right, that's Oliver Twist in the making. Please, sir, you can have some more. So these are our results. It gives us 3 options. Quite varied. This was very abstract. But yeah, we basically played around with this until we found a background which we're happy with. Do you have that background easily accessible? If not, I can pull it up in After Effects. And the one that we settled on was this lovely background, which was quite abstract. And it's really interesting how it pulls out. I think my prompt was probably something to do with old. I probably gave an era, but I can't quite remember for this one. And you can just see it's giving you lots of textures as if paint has been splattered, and then pass that back to you, basically.
Okay. Yes, very quick.
It was very quick. I can talk more about AI and AI backgrounds, but it's just prompts and hoping for the best, basically, and just having a play. Yeah, so that's all you need.
So I've just switched over to this one I made earlier, essentially, and where we have the 50 and the 100. You can see even more here the difference between 50 mil and 100 mil. So I guess the actual issue was this reprojection thing we've been talking about. It's like creating the forced perspective effect on a sphere. And once you understand it, and you might get it straight away, but once you know what you're actually trying to achieve, it makes a lot of sense. So there are kind of like a few things that you see on the ball, which is like the things which are doing the force perspective trick and making your brain believe that it's a 3D object within the sphere.
Yeah.
Or you see sort of things that take advantage of the fact that it's a sphere and like make it look like it is a ball thing, like a really big basketball or the globe.
Yeah.
So that would...
The eye was a cool one.
The eye is a cool one.
I think it was cool social media-wise, but I think the residents, it wasn't so cool having a massive eye from your hotel view.
You could do things like having a... let's get this up. Having a little scene that plays out on the ball could be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think obviously like it hasn't been around that long, so it's only going to get more innovative, I think.
Yeah.
The longer it is a thing. So, do I need to illustrate that point? I guess that sort of illustrates the point, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know if it's worth illustrating why we have to reproject.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm trying to remember. So yeah, if I took. So if I'm gonna swap over to just the sphere. So this is our sphere, and currently we have. Let's say we have. The best way I can think to sort of like explain this is that. Let's get the same setup as the pictures I'm going to use. So, let's say I took this picture and I wanted to put that onto the sphere, which is this frame, which I'll find. So that's our frame, right? And we want to put that onto the sphere. If I I want to get a new sphere. I'm trying to do this without showing the result.
Do you have my backgrounds on hand? If not, I can.
I think I have it somewhere.
Because that might be a.
Because I've already set up for the projection to work. It like.
Right. I'm trying to undo.
Yeah, I want to just undo it before. Okay, so this is what happens. You get a let's say I take that picture, so I'm going to open up literally that picture, which is that, and I'm going to grab it again. So we get that picture and we load it up onto a sphere, and you're basically just going to see this really stretched out image around the ball, which is not what you want.
No.
Not at all.
No, hopefully not.
So then the next point of cool is like, this is what I'm looking at and I don't want to see that. So you then go about sort of trying to scale something and move it around to get back to what you were seeing before. Boop, boop, boop. Pressing buttons, clicking stuff. Right, and you can get somewhere that you think is good just from this one perspective. So we're working on this idea that we're trying to create this illusion from this perspective, right? Yeah. But then if I come off of that,
yeah.
So maybe that doesn't even look that bad.
I don't know. It doesn't look. The
faces doesn't look great.
Don't look amazing.
So everything's like still stretched, but it's like. I don't know. So we didn't even do this. I'm just like, could I have done it a way easier way? But essentially, you have to like fiddle around and do this. But what we're trying to do is take that exact picture, stretch it on, and then see what the sphere should see if you were to take literally a projector and splash that onto a surface and then take a picture.
Yeah.
But from the surface of the sphere.
Yeah.
So the easiest way we found to do that is to because the problem comes when you actually want to put it back onto a flat thing. So that's the thing.
I feel like it's problems throughout. Yeah. You have to kind of overcome.
There's so many. Yeah.
So that is a problem unto itself, just having a flat image. But the issue actually comes from.
The issue actually comes when you want to, like, you have to do that skew and then put that back onto a flat thing.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to basically reproduce
That's actually
an omnidirectional projection
yeah.
in real time. And an omnidirectional projection would be something like a globe map,
Yeah.
where you've like basically taken a sphere, flattened it out, and like you put it on a page, because you need to take that and then put that back onto a sphere.
Yeah. And the other good thing to note at this point is that the sphere just isn't, it's not like a curved LED screen, it's like individual pucks, so it's, you're having to flatten, there isn't such thing as like a big singular like globe screen as such. So it's not the case of you have to put it back to a flat rectangle which can then be reprojected back into itself, basically.
So it's a whole thing, and like it was
confusing to just like even explain it, let alone experience it.
'Cause I can't even remember why it was such a problem, but
just blocked it out.
Yeah. So anyway, so you do that, but what you can do is reproduce the sort of the idea of projecting. Oh yeah, because it also, this skew at the bottom is incorrect as well.
Yeah,
like it's once you actually go down the path and redo everything, it starts to, all the problems start to come into play.
But you'd also be getting that skew on the top, which is a big issue, because this Las Vegas sphere is cut off probably to a degree that it wouldn't be as much of an issue below.
Yeah.
But the top, because obviously Las Vegas it's like the place you go on holiday. It's also people live there, but there's a lot of hotels in the area. So whilst you may think you won't be able to ever see the top, people definitely do. So that's the other reason we'll have to reproject to then reproject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird to explain. So basically, the idea is that we've built this composition around the sphere and the specific focal point.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take that exact focal point and mimic throwing the image onto the sphere, which can be done in Blender through UV projection, which is probably the same words you would use in any other 3D thing. Another way to do this is if you make VR content, but essentially what we're trying is, like, you could make VR content and that would probably go quite well on it. What we're trying to do is put our image on the ball and then use a omnidirectional camera to take a picture of it in a perfect sphere, and that becomes our sort of like world map that we then can wrap onto any sphere. That's the rough process. So very quickly doing that, we don't do any of this stuff by hand. We can basically UV project from this camera point. So if I basically get a UV projection thing, select the camera.
So Killian said that we need to project to then recapture. That's the proper terminology, thank you.
There you go. Killian knows, he's probably done
Killian to the rescue,
so that's the plan. So what we've done now, if you look at it, with the reprojection from that specific viewpoint, you get this perfect image, which is exactly, if I was to A/B between the 3D artwork and the sphere, is almost like, it's exactly the same.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
We got there. I don't know why it's a problem, but it's like, it is. So this is what you get. And then if we look at that from around the sphere, things start to get a bit weird, because everything stretches back, but it's because like, it's like we're just shining a torch on it, but it's an image. And then what you do is you put your omnidirectional camera in the center of the sphere, which is there, and you can, a lot of 3D software now will let you do it because of like VR content or 360 content on YouTube or anything like that. You can like render your world in 3D. So in 3D, render your world in 360.
Yeah.
So you can you simply use that camera at the exact center of your sphere that you've projected onto to recapture, thanks Killian, the image that you've got. So if I now switch over to that camera and go in, so we're currently looking at it from the outside, go inside of it, I actually need to do that. You get this very crazy looking image as well. And because when you're, if I go back to the globe, when you are putting an image onto a sphere, it's actually sort of, you can think of it as two hemispheres. So a square covers a whole hemisphere. So you need two squares. So the ratio is 2 to 1. For this example, we'll just use 2,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels. So when I change it to that, the maths all works out, hopefully, and you get a still kind of visually skewed image.
Yeah.
But once you sort of like take that flat image that we've now got, put it back onto a sphere, you get back your exact thing that we're seeing from that angle, which is what we want, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh my god. So that's what we've done.
Yeah.
And then you re-render your scene from this angle, and then you put it into After Effects, and you can do layering.
By magic.
So do you want to quickly talk through that while I build up the visualization?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let me go to you. Ready?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Oh my god. I need to write myself a script.
I know. So I've now then taken exactly what you've just seen on Michael's screen and put it into my After Effects. And for this, it's just a composition, which is 2,000 by 1,000, just for reference, basically. So once in here, I can actually very quickly, hopefully, show you what it's going to look like. Just for context, to make a bit more sense that we've been talking about. Yeah. No. Let me put a solid behind that. Why isn't this?
Cool. So yeah, as soon as you get...
I was trying to show why yes, but you can just see through to the other side. But you can see to a degree that it's looking, I don't know if you can tell. I feel like it's so easy because I know it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense how it looks like now. I tried to put a black solid behind, but it's still PNG. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now. I've confused myself.
Is that the that's just the plain?
Yeah, this is just plain. I was just trying to
right.
see like the if I could try and show what it's going to look like essentially in the long term. But yeah, so something that we made earlier is this sphere guide, and it's basically going to show us where our constraints are. So everything which is in the light grey area is kind of as flat as we can be, so it's kind of, that's our, as Michael would put it, our sweet spot to kind of aim for. Anything below is going to be cut off a little bit, or it started to curve back in. In particularly the Las Vegas spheres case, there's actually like buildings and like it's kind of the shape of the building and the walkways around the sphere that cut this off. And at the top, this is where you're starting to get into your very like warped zone essentially. So I am going to take this and I'm going to pre-comp it and call this footage. So
Killian's made a good point. So when you do the reprojection and recapture, you do get the mirrored, it does mirror everything because you're looking at it from the inside of something, so you're looking at it backwards. So you can just fix that in After Effects just by scaling minus 100 on the X.
Nice.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you, Killian.
Killian. Killian should be here doing it.
I know. Where are you, Killian? So I've now taken my like guides, and I'm going to come and put back in our faces over the top of this and just scale it up. I don't remember how. Let's bring it up to 240. It might be too much. Yeah. Fine. Okay, so actually all we need of this is this middle section here, even though we've got the outer edge here. So what I'm then going to do is just put a mask on this and start to duplicate it, like so. And I'm just copying and pasting.
So yeah, I think one thing that's actually really important here is as well is that we know exactly our pixel resolution. We made it easier of like the deliverable, which is this omnidirectional reprojected capture.
Yeah.
And we made it easy this time because it's 2000 by 1000, and then you can sort of start to split it up into quarters or halves, so you can exactly move your content, like duplicate your content once, move it 1000 pixels if you want to put it on the other side, the immediate 180, which is what we're doing here. But sometimes you might want it to be on every quarter so people can see it from every 90 degrees or a third, and that just sort of depends on how much you need your content to bleed or live on its own or whatever, because it's a sphere. When you're looking at it from one direction, you can still kind of see, you can almost kind of see the like 90 degree apex of it, because it's a sphere. There's no like hard edges, and because it's a sphere, it kind of has to be pixel perfect, because when you get the wraparound, you'll see this like hard line if you have moving content that overlaps that line. So yeah, that was one thing we also had to take into account.
Yeah, one of many.
One of many things.
So now I've split it up, so we're gonna see, it's just gonna be two for, as you just said, right? We did do 4, but for this we're just gonna do 2 sides to be seen.
Yeah. So you've got like it split into quarters on the guide, but just for ease, like just doing it in half, so it's on the 180 is sort of what we're doing.
Yeah. I'm just gonna pre-comp that, so we just have that ready, and then I may as well just go straight into the background and just do that, because you've already seen. So the image that you saw earlier was this image, which was then passed over to Michael, who then reprojected it. It's a very Blue Peter moment, but here's one that we did earlier with our newly omnidirectional map, essentially. So I'm going to put that back into my comp so we can see it, and probably at this point hide my...
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to describe. Like, you kind of have to do it to realize the problems.
Yeah.
But everything does just sort of look wrong and not skewed correctly when it's not projected mathematically, and you kind of want the computer to do as much of the work as possible.
Yeah.
Because like doing it all by hand is a nightmare. And it's a similar process to the corner screens, I guess. Like if you look at how people do those, you have to be able to project content you make content bearing in mind the dimensions of the screen and the exact dimensions of the screen.
Yeah.
And then you render your image from the perspective you want the sweet spot to be. Yeah. And then I think you actually have to flatten out your plane that you sort of take your content, put it onto the screen that you want it to be on, and flatten it out, and then you take a picture of it again, and then you get your 2D video. Yeah. Because that's your problem. You're trying to sort of transfer 3D content and a 3D plane to a flat 2D thing. But there must be ways that you can basically use like a render target.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can do it like in Unreal or like N-Display. Yeah. But yeah,
I'm sure.
I don't know how to. Yeah.
So I am basically just pulling my mask that I've got as close as possible. The issue here is, if I now can make this into a CC sphere, is that... Give me a second. On one side it's going to look like okay, but as we move around you can start to get this seam. So just to fix this seam, we probably just put it back into Photoshop and edit around that. Basically, I don't know how much, we don't have that much time really, do we?
No, but, yeah, I'm skipping all of my like ground plans to make it as
brilliant.
You go.
Oh, that's really helpful.
I'm fully Blue Petering it at the moment.
Yeah, so I can go into my Photoshop. So this was essentially one that we had earlier, which was then just using Clone Tool very quickly. It doesn't take very long to just blend it and blur it back. And put it back into the sphere. I don't know if you've got anything else you want to show, Michael, because
yeah, so I think the last thing that we do, I'm just going to try and undo things that I did earlier, is you've obviously, this is all fun and games, like trying to figure out how to do things and like confusing yourself, but at the end of the day you've got a client and they need to see stuff, and they need to like it, otherwise you might as well, so that's sort of the next step, is how do you visualize something which we can't just jump over to Las Vegas and see it, essentially.
No.
So for that we use the wonderful program called Unreal Engine 5. It should be like one word. But that's also free if you're like an indie maker. A lot of people probably already use it / know about it because it's incredible for free software.
Very good, especially with like mega scans and all their free asset libraries. Like
sounds
insane.
Like we're just like selling them. Yeah, Unreal. If you want to give us stuff,
we'd be more than happy to.
Epic.
Yeah. It would be epic.
Oh god. But yeah, no, it's great, and same as Blender. Like, we literally made, this is our workflow to make this, the sphere, and it's 60% free software, and the rest of it is Adobe, which everyone, if you're a creator, you have it, you know. Yeah. So, I'm gonna flick over to my screen.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that we use CC Sphere to like. This is like a good halfway house before getting into Unreal. But
have you got it?
Brush. No, not yet.
Oh, is this a fresh?
No, I'm just literally just going to get to it. So yeah, I'm just masking everything so that we have nothing below.
So yeah, so what Izzie's about to do is project it onto a sphere in After Effects. So this is like just checking your content actually wraps correctly. Yeah. And it's like the first sort of visualization you can do. Have you got that?
Oh, yeah, ready. Ta-da!
Oh my god.
I know. Yeah.
So yeah, so you can see that it is like, it looks similar to what we had in Blender when you come off axis, which is kind of what you kind of want everything just to look right.
Yeah.
And yeah, as much as possible. So shall I do visualization?
Yes.
So because it's almost 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm literally just gonna show the I guess just show the project.
I guess so. Yeah.
It just feels less momentous.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think seeing it in a well, I haven't seen my screen just yet, but in what we're about to show adds scale to it for sure. Just how big the sphere actually is, because it's huge.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. So fading across. So basically, we've used a map of London.
Yeah.
To for this one, obviously it's not in London, but it'd be great if there was one.
You put it in the Thames?
I didn't put it in the Thames. There's the Thames.
Oh.
This is it's like Green Park.
Oh, okay.
And for context, we are. I can't spot it. Around here somewhere, I think. Buckingham Palace would be here. Is that right?
I have got no idea. I can't
even tell.
See.
No. I don't know, it's somewhere, maybe around here.
It's somewhere in those buildings.
Yeah.
Where's that? And
then we've chucked I always chuck things. We've put a sphere here, and this is about to scale because we found the scale on the old internet. This is with our background and with the artwork in the middle and everything. You can see that we've opted for just two images rather than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And this sort of can illustrate quite well the importance of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So as you sort of come in closer to it, you can see that the skew starts to go away, and as soon as I get into like the position where that camera was, somewhere around here, it's not perfect because the thing, but it looks much better, and as you go further away it skews more, so you want to sort of almost tune that camera angle that you start with, and you make all your artwork to sort of how far back you think someone's going to be viewing it from, or like how high or how low. Like you would, if you were if you said that everyone was going to view it from here, we would change our perspective to view it from that angle when we rendered everything. So look like you're looking up at someone. So I think on the actual sphere, I did actually pull the camera down a tiny bit.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah.
But obviously, we couldn't go and look at it very easily, so
no.
We sort of just did the best we could. But yeah, you can really see it on the disc, how like coming up to the sweet spot here is a bit nicer, and coming down really gets the bend back in. And then I was going to talk about how we actually do this, but essentially you can drag in a video file, and that can be played with a media player in Unreal. When I click my media player, I can click on my footage, which would be that one, and play it. And if I go to my media thing and I put in the right image, you would get the playing video on the thing. And then that is our finished artwork. And if I view it from somewhere where I can actually see it, and I turn the lights off maybe, you can start to make it feel a bit like it's a 3D thing, I think. I don't know. Let me get rid of that. Let me get this a bit bigger. So yeah.
Yeah, I think as you were saying before, like referencing the one in Seoul, like having that platform below really helps the 3D effect to take place, really.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we haven't covered because we're trying to do this in an hour, and I don't know how informative it was.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I think we've tried to cover way too much.
Yeah, I'm probably
in 1 hour, which is a thing.
Yep.
Definitely would need an edit. But yeah, like overall, those are the kind of things we're trying to go over because we didn't know them beforehand.
Yeah.
That you really wanna take your camera angle into account. Because that really decides where you have to account for where people are going to view it from.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you want to basically lock that, because the place that you take your picture of your 3D footage from is the same place you should be projecting your video back onto the sphere from, and then taking your omnidirectional picture of the sphere.
Yeah.
Right, and you can't. And we also thought about trying to do it like through mirror balls and other ways, but it was kind of didn't work as well.
No. But it was a process for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's under this? And then yeah, I guess that's basically it.
Basically, yeah.
And then you can throw other things onto your thing, and this is the exact same project that we used to make the little promo thing with our. It's coming. Is it coming? It's not coming. Oh god, it's not working.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to turn on the wireframe.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I've made a mug of myself. I was trying to put the bloody wireframes on.
But yeah, I don't know how helpful we've been, but if you do have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below, or let us know if you want a more in-depth analysis on anything, or all of it. And yeah, we're happy to try and help as and when.
I think we want to maybe make this some sort of thing,
that'd be cool.
If it's actually helpful, and because there are some things that we think are very cool, but we don't talk about them, and so maybe we'll do one on something else. Yeah,
have a brainstorm.
Just
see
trying
what
to
we come
think
up
of
with.
anything that's come out. The Honey Dijon thing.
Yeah, Johnny Walker stuff.
Potentially. But yeah. Cool.
Amazing.
Anything else to say, Izzie, before I try and find a link up?
Thank you for watching, I think. And I hope some of it, or like a few seconds of it, were helpful, and hopefully it's not become more confusing, because I think we've confused ourselves even though we've made it just by talking about it.
Yeah. Also, maybe it's an edited thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way forward. Maybe don't trust us to
do it live.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Okay. Have a great day.
Yeah.
And we'll I never even looked at the camera. We'll see you later.
Yeah. Okay. Bye. Thank you.